And the title of her speech is, What Can One Person Do?
The man who had phoned into the radio station was very eloquent. He was informed and passionate and convincing. He had me. And then he lost me. When he ended his statement by saying, I'm only one person. What can one person do? What can one person do? What can one person do? Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to tell you about 3 people whose worlds were turned upside down by tragedy. And then I'm going to ask you, what can one person do? First, I'm going to talk about Nancy. Nancy was a very successful business executive. And in 1977, her family was struck with tragedy when her sister Susie was diagnosed with breast cancer. She died 3 years later at the age of 36. Now, during that 3 years, Nancy heard Susie and other patients say many times, if we only knew then what we know now. And she promised Susie that she would help find a way to end breast cancer. Now, Nancy's talent was not medicine or science. She wasn't a doctor or a scientist. She was a marketing executive. So she created the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Nancy's idea was to team with businesses and have a portion of the purchase price go directly to the foundation. This was an innovative idea. Has anyone here ever bought something because it had a pink ribbon on it? Me too. You're standing at the dairy case and there's 2 containers of strawberry yogurt. Why not buy the one that will help cure cancer? Now, this is an idea that we see in marketplaces all the time now, but Nancy thought of it first. In the 25 years since the organization has been founded, they changed the name on the 25th anniversary to the Susan G. Komen for the Cure. And they changed their mission statement to explicitly state to end breast cancer forever. And in that 25 years, they have dedicated almost $1 billion to cancer research and to the education of the public and healthcare professionals. What can one person do? Next, I want to talk about John. John was living the American dream in 1982. He was a successful businessman building high-end luxury hotels. And then his son disappeared from a Sears store. The search for Adam Walsh was carried on by every level of law enforcement, but there was very little coordination and communication between the agencies. And John and his wife, Reeve, channeled their grief and their anger into a positive change when they founded the Adam Walsh Resource Center, which eventually merged with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. John Walsh's poise and his bold presence in front of the cameras led him to being the host of the TV show America's Most Wanted. Since that time, 1,100 fugitives have been turned in. And more than 50 children have returned home because of tips received by his TV show. What can one person do? And finally, I want to talk about Candy. Candy's 13-year-old daughter, Carrie, was killed when she was walking to a church fair. She was hit by a drunk driver. Candy was incensed when she found out that that driver had received many DUIs and in fact was out on bail when he killed her daughter. Candy founded Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And when she founded MAD, she had a vision of 100 mothers marching on the state capitol. And instead, in a few months, thousands of mothers marched on the White House. And the nation's attitude towards drunk drivers changed. It went from being an acceptable, tolerated behavior that was boys will be boys, wink, wink, to being completely unacceptable. What can one person do? Use what you've got. Nancy used her skill in marketing to raise $1 billion for cancer research. John used his leadership ability, and now 1,100 child predators are in prison, and 50 children or more are back home where they belong. Candy used her networking talent to galvanize a nation and changed an attitude of what was considered a socially acceptable mistake into a crime. And 383,000 people are alive because alcohol-related deaths have decreased by 50%. What can one person do? One determined, passionate person can change the world. Madam President.